up, everybody? This is your boy Boozadelic with my main man, Ultra Van Krome.
Hey!
Today, we're in the studio. We're just gonna sit here and shoot the breeze and talk about what's going on, the inspiration behind the music.
Yes, indeed. That's what we're gonna talk about. Matter of fact,
Ultra Van Krome. I see I'm here in your studio and I'm looking at your equipment. So, what are we working with here?
we're working with two different applications. One is Pro Tools and the other one is Logic. And we're also working with, I've got this light piped over into my Apollo situation and my Ultra Grain light pipe as well, which gives me about 32 tracks if I need that. I have a guitar amp here as well, but when I really need to tune into, really want some funk on there, I can feed my guitar amp into this, which is called Avalon, and it takes me there. I can dial in Bootsy or George Clinton.
And real go-getters. It's a dark high and tight.
Most of the stuff that I'm doing, most of my sound, I create with keyboard parts that I will play myself. Drum parts. I have a drum set, but it's not hooked up here. But I either do drum parts or either program the parts depending on what mood I'm in. And most of my inspiration for any and everything that I do comes from, but not really the men in the sky, but my higher power.
Okay, so what is the inspiration behind the music? I know you're working on something right now, a new project. Can you tell us about that and the inspiration behind it?
This album, as with the last album, is about love and falling in love, and some of the stuff that I can hear now, that's beauty in it that I found in one person incarnate. I know her as my cake. You just know her as Georgette.
Well, seeing on social media, you always refer to as your cake.
Yeah, my
so
cake.
I thought
yeah.
that was very sweet.
Yeah, my cake. Yeah, that's my sweetie pie. And I know I get to see her right now going, don't mention me. Whatever, just being honest about it. But most of my songs that I write are about her. And it's weird, being in the age that I am now, finding head over heels situation going on in, each time you find love, it's new and improved. But this love was what I needed. Wasn't what I wanted. It was what I needed. It's everything I asked the universe for. And what I couldn't translate into words for her, she just made me feel good all the time. Still does. So that's it's a little corny, but it's the truth.
So I heard you mention the universe, and my understanding of the universe is everything runs on a vibrational frequency.
Don't you know it? Until I had you break it down for me. That's how I was thinking, and that's kind of really scary that I would meet you and that the end of the puzzle, the missing pieces would fit. And now that they have fit, they're glued in. So there's a lot more that you have spoken to me about the universe as I know it to be. That, let's face it, it's all good. And I am, just for now, just discovering myself as a black man in this world. And I don't harbor any illness or nothing like that, but just discovering yourself, and my woman helped that happen for me, because I was trying to get in where I didn't fit in, and then she came along and just told me to just be honor who I am, and that's what I'm trying to do now. So I stand on the shoulders of some heavy weights, some well as whom I know locally. My cousin Marlon McLean, Nate Phillips, all the people in Pleasure that came along and inspired me to do this. But from that point on, it made it open for me to discover Jimi Hendrix. I have a Miles Davis story I tell you that will just blow your socks in the dirt. It's heavy duty. Not too many people get a chance to hang out with him, but he loved me. And so anyway, I stand on these shoulders as well as Prince and George Duke, whom I was really pretty close to, George Duke. And I carry these folks with me. The group Chicago, I never met those guys, but they're the beauty of them, the power of the horn section. Man, there's this group in town called Soul Vaccination. Their lead singer, Regina Kodrowski, one of my great writing partners. Actually, she's my best friend. And she just, don't let me get started on her. She's just everything. But now I got a new best friend. You. So, it's one thing to have a best friend, but it's another thing to have a teacher and a mentor too. And the universe lined it up so I'd be sitting here in my studio with you and just telling you. Anyway, I'm from Portland, Oregon, and there's only two people that really matter in that growth there. That's Randy Monroe and Randy Smith, as well as Leslie White. That's
Randy
it.
Smith, I want to tell you a little bit of secret here. Randy and his sister Debbie used to babysit me when I was a kid.
Get out of town. Wow. I was one of their mother's favorite comedians. So she used to, Miss Betty, used to invite me over to her house to make her laugh. Rest in peace. And the whole family knows me. That Rodney, Debbie, Randy, and Janet. And they know me as part of the family.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty happy about that. But musically, they knew that too. So.
Well, it's funny how things kind of come full circle because prior to 4 years ago, I mean, I had seen you around town playing over the years and stuff and never really, talked to you. And I saw a message on Facebook one day and came up and paid you a visit.
That's right. Yeah, that was heavy, man. That was so heavy. I was there's been several times I've been at my wit's end and God would send these angels, man, wingless angels, I call them, and to my rescue. You and Brian Harrison, he turned out to be my guitar player on the Cyber Funkist album and any other thing I've done. And you're the last person I expected, because I mean, you look at you and you're right on solid, my brother. That kind of thing, pro-black thing. I'm like, this guy ain't gonna even. And then you showed up, and I'm looking at you going, where do I know you from? And you said, I'm your friend on Facebook. And I said, oh. So you just melted my heart, man. So I got a big old spot in there for you. So
Well, I appreciate that. But you mentioned your cousins, Marlon McLean and Nathaniel Phillips. And, it's funny because growing up, I was into the Portland music scene, and I remember watching Pleasure play up at Irving Park. I used to live around the corner from Bruce Carter. And Nathaniel Phillips is kind of the reason why I decided to pick up a bass.
Is that right?
Yeah, him along with Bootsy Collins.
Oh, yeah. I was the annoying brother for Nathaniel. I would always speak to him. And matter of fact, when he was making up Glide, I had just showed up over his house because he was out on the road, and I would come by and crack his mom up. And I came by there to visit, and I was cracking her up, and anyway, I came by there because it's part of my ritual. I would see the window open at her house. I knew she was there. Well, this one time I went there and she wasn't there. I knocked on the door. Nate came to the door. And boy, was he looking annoyed. And I proceeded to just crack him up. And he was like, man, I'd love to stay here and chat with you, but I'm working on something. So I instead of asking, could I come in, I said, oh, man, I don't mean to bug you. So I said, well, I'll talk to you later. And I sat there on the front porch while he was on his Music Man in there playing Glide. And he, if you hip to the thing about Nate Phillips, I remember when Nate Phillips was always in some gosh bagosh overalls. Always. And with the flower print on them, everybody was trying to be a hippie, and him and Marlon and all those cats, man. You know, I used to see Marlon, and I hadn't seen Marlon since we was kids. And I always would look at him like, I know this guy from someplace. And then they were in the park one day, and they were always playing some Chicago stuff. Uh-huh. And I had just got that album. One of my neighbors was a trombone player. His name was Cleve Williams. And he's a jazz heavyweight. And he never would listen to pop stuff. And he gave me 5 albums. Sly and the Family Stone's Greatest Hits, Sly and the Family Stone's Stand. He gave me Jimi Hendrix Greatest Hits, Jimi Hendrix The Cry of Love. No, Jimi Hendrix Greatest Hits, Chicago Transit 30, the black album with the turquoise front, and Mountain. And this, my mother gave me a Zenith record player, and I used to sit there, and Stan would come on by Sly and the Family Stone, and I would be smudging her table up, acting like I was playing organ. And my mother came on one day, and I'd be playing the Hendrix album, Purple Haze. And it's because of Purple Haze that I first discovered Hendrix. And they only played the beginning of it on the radio. Ladies and gentlemen, Jimi Hendrix Experience and the more calls in. And I asked my mama, you got to take me to go see that guy. And she's like, Steve, what you know about Jimi Hendrix? I don't know, but I got to go see him. And she's like, well, I ain't going down there in them hippies. You'd kill me. I said, ask your Uncle Steve. So I asked my Uncle Stevie. And Stevie B. Hoggins. And his response was, are you out your mind? I'm not going down there with all them hippies. This is 1967, I think. 67. And no, he wasn't going to take me there. So finally, when I did discover Hendrix again, I was constantly trying to get a guitar that was white, wanted to do all that. And I didn't correlate that the guy on the radio and the guy that I was listening to on a daily basis was the same guy. The day I did discover who he was, he died. And Walter Cronkite came on and said, guitar, mathematic genius Jimi Hendrix. Some call him a genius. He died today in wherever he was, London. And it broke my heart because, I knew I was never going to have that part of me fulfilled. So, ever since then, I was always searching for some kind of way before YouTube came out, to see my hero and emulate him. And before videos came along of him, finally when I did get some videos, I was emulating that on stage when I was with Johnny Riley. Johnny Riley was my drummer at the time. He was playing with all these other top 40 groups and doing the top 40 thing, and I was imitating him. But little did I know that there was another guy coming from the East whose name was Prince that was doing all the stuff I was doing, but he was doing it not on bass, he was doing it on guitar. But anyway, I stand on the shoulders of Prince, rest in peace, and Hendrix, rest in peace. And I ain't no guitar sissy.
Well, as I listen to your music, I can just call out your different influences, and you're like, yep. And so it's amazing, how that, how you can, you stand on their shoulders, and the way you just go ahead and carry on their music, it's just incredible. And then I love the unique flavor of your own sound.
Thank you, man. Damn it.
I mean, because you sent me some stuff when I was working on one of my videos, and I was like driving around in my car with the windows down, blasting like I was a kid, and I could see people's heads turning like, damn, who's that?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. My girl is my first endeavor into being immersed into my own culture. When you're in Portland, it's so small, you don't get a lot of that. It's so metro. Everybody, when you do meet somebody who is quote unquote pro-black, there's an anger that's with them. But then again, some of my musical fathers, like Al Harris, rest in peace, Rudy Mwangosi, these were cats I started hanging out with during my late teens. And they started hipping me to reggae and the sound that came with that. And of course, here I am, a direct disciple of Larry Graham. So I was like, I wasn't trying to hear that boom, boom, trying to feel that, even though Graham turned me out when he finally hooked up with Prince. You could hear those guys getting to some reggae like it didn't mean anything. And my Grandma Mays, Georgie Mays, as a matter of fact, every day it was the blues. She played a record till it just turned white. So I was always fighting that influence. But finally, when I went on ahead and accepted it, I realized I could sing the words to these things and know where they were going. So she is the biggest influence to all these other people, and including Thera Memory and rest in peace, and Janice Scroggins, who she was my mentor, and she turned me way out.
Yeah, those are some real heavyweights on the local scene here.
Oh yeah. But rest in peace, both her and Thera. And here I am, so busy on trying to get with the program, and deep self-hatred. Don't even know why, but just deep self-hatred. And realizing that God put me here for one purpose, and that's to get this music in my head out. So I stopped listening to the radio and what the chart said should be, and came up with my own sound, which is what Ultra Van Krome is all about. It's about the freedom to wear what everybody else ain't wearing. It's the ability to accept fuchsia and love it.
Uh-huh.
It's the ability to take all the sounds. Like when you listen to rap now, it's almighty and it's powerful. Even I understand that. But there's an element of abandonment that we as a people leave alone. We invent stuff and then we walk away from it. And we watch the vultures in this world come and pick it up and act like it's brand new to them, when actually they're so busy trying to make it their own that they completely eliminate who bought it here. So when I think of Miles, I think of Sly. When I think of Little Richard more than anybody. When I think of Little Richard and all that he's done and still can't get props, that's just sad situation. So in my life, I am about bringing those folks back into the forefront of everything that I do.
That's so important because you look at all these artists. This country and the culture vultures have had a very long
I like that.
history
Yeah.
of appropriating our music and then actually stealing the rights, the rights to the masters and all that. One of my favorite all-time artists, I know George Clinton battled for years, and he's finally just now starting to get his rights back, like for Knee Deep and all that. You think that club, Atomic Dog, You see those songs on commercials and stuff, and it took him all these years. The man's getting towards the end of his life, and I'm glad to see that he's able to actually start getting his money back. But it's just sad to see what happens to some of these artists. And so, you know, what I want to emphasize to anybody out there that might be watching, trying to come up on their own, is to make sure that you get your rights. Own your masters and all that.
That's right. If you don't own your masters will own you. That's a Prince saying. Yeah, that's a Prince saying. But I was thinking about George, and George, through whatever he was going through, he gave his rights away. Now he got him back. But Prince never did give his rights away.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are. I've been paying quite a bit of attention to everybody doing their thing out there. And some of the stories I've heard, I've even went through it myself, where I had a project that I paid for, and I never got a dime of any money from it. And turn around and somebody I know was collecting any and everything, and it's just sad that my love for somebody would override doing the right thing. And you go through all that trying to be part of what's going on. I tell you, I never knew how much self-hatred I had until I got a queen, a Nubian queen. My Kate came along and just straightened me out on a whole lot of stuff that just was wrong that I was doing. And now that I am fully aware of the do's and don'ts, I have come up with lines myself that I don't let people cross anymore. And I mean, man, like, giving people stuff and never have it reciprocated.
Everybody, rise.
I'm up here today. You got this song that you wrote called "I Am an American," and I keep listening to it over and over and coming up with these different concepts. Tell me, when you wrote that song, what was the thought process?
Well, the thought process was I got to watching these videos, these movies, like Saving Private Ryan and all this. And I'm like, where are we at? I don't see us. My uncle would tell me stories. My uncle, his name was Nathaniel Mays. He'd tell me stories of who really was the heroes in these movies. And then he also told me about the White House, that it was built by black people. I was like, he said, read up. And I did. And it became apparent to me, wow, you guys, meaning the powers that be, are so busy treating us like we're second-rate citizens, but actually, we are part of the fabric of how this whole great country came to be. And so I was writing this, and then, of course, Obama came along and gave these dreamers their chance to be part of America. And I was like, this is out of sight. I love this guy. And he did this without any help from Congress. He did this to make America the land that you think it should be. And then I started hearing all these folks on the other side of the fence yell back that he was a liar, a crook. And I was like, no, you guys got this wrong. These guys got to saying it so much, it obviously became believable. And so that whole track is dedicated to Barack Obama and his wife, because I wanted to stand up and say that we brown people, black people, yellow people. We are Americans. And when stuff gets funky, you can plan on. You call American in to finish it. And we do. And you might spend all this time thinking that you and your class of people are responsible for any triumphs that we have. No, you're not. You guys don't even pay a fraction. But, you know, if you thought about it, I'd say over 80% of the language that's here, the culture that's here, everything about us, you guys have copped and made your own. But if it wasn't for black people and brown people, it wasn't for black people, there wouldn't be no culture. It is America.